Hello guys, this is Paul from drozgre.com and this is gonna be the only and last video review you'll need to see about the DJI Mavic Mini. We're gonna take a look over the specs, the build quality, why I like it, and also compare the footage side by side with drones like the Xiaomi Fimi X8, the DJI Spark, the Mavic Pro and more. So don't forget to watch the whole video if you want to see the footage. I'll also make individual comparisons with all these drones and the Mavic Mini, so stay tuned and subscribe. Also hit the notification button if you're really excited about that. I want to start though with one mention in particular. Sincerely, I thought I would get this drone and just sell it after I do some reviews and testing. However, even though I have other really good drones like the Mavic 2 and Xiaomi and so on, now I'm certain I'll keep this drone. And you know why? There's something peculiar about the Mavic Mini that it draws you to fly it. It's much smaller in real life than what you can see online, and I was surprised to find out that I'm more excited to fly it than any of my other drones in the beginning. Although it might not look much smaller than the Mavic Air or the Spark for example, it feels like I finally have a toy-sized drone that I'm not afraid to crash, and furthermore records amazing footage. Don't forget that you can check the description for my full comparison, where you can also find side-by-side images both zoomed in or not, and you can drag them left or right and see how the image changes between all these drones in real time. You can also click that to download the original footage and the photos if you want to compare them yourself. You're probably aware of the specs that this drone has by now since it's so popular. One of the most interesting ones being the camera and its 3-axis gimbal stabilization. This makes for ultra smooth footage, the best kind actually. Compared to the DJI Spark for example, which only has 2-axis image stabilization, this does side-by-side turning much smoother. What should have been the front camera sensors in the other Mavics are now removed and replaced with vents. They simply couldn't add more weight to the package, and this also keeps the drone cheaper. Now, do you need front obstacle sensors? Maybe, but I personally don't use them even on my Mavic 2 Pro, as they tend to beep annoyingly even when launching the drone. They even used some soft foam in the front arms to make the drone lighter. Below it has one optical float camera and 2 infrared sensors that make it fly more stable both horizontally as well as vertically. And when you couple that with a great GPS system, it means that it should fly quite stable. What about wind resistance though? I was really impressed with how stable this drone flies in wind, really. Well, one of my main concerns with this drone was its stability in wind since it's so light. Well, that concern was shattered because I've flown it in really strong wind and it behaved just as well as the other drones like the Mavic Air, the Spark, actually even better than the Spark. A full wind stability comparison between all these drones is coming soon, so subscribe for that. If it's already released, I'll probably link it up here or in the description. If you don't yet know, the limit for registering a drone in the United States is 250 grams. So by owning the Mavic Mini, you're under that weight limit, so you don't have to register it. That also applies for many other countries that have weight limitations for registering drones or flying them in general. The thing about this drone is that it's so light and tiny, it doesn't really bother anybody. I mean, imagine starting this drone or a big Phantom 4 somewhere in a public spot. Nobody will really get scared of this, but the Phantom 4 might make some people take their children away and remove themselves from the area. For example, I'm from Romania, where the weight limit is 750 grams for registering a drone. For example, the Spark is also included in that weight limit. However, this being even lighter and smaller is even less intrusive to fly next to people. The noise it makes is also an improvement from the DJI Spark and the Mavic Air, at least in my opinion. I think it's a bit lower pitched and the decibels are also a little bit lower. I will make a full decibel comparisons with the sound both inside and outside so you can see the difference and also notice their stability. The package it comes with, the Fly More combo in my case, is the only thing that you actually need. Coming with 3 batteries, a 3-battery charger, all the cables you'll ever need, and this great durable case. Some people ask me if the charger can charge all the 3 batteries at the same time. No, and that's a good thing. If it were to charge all the 3 at the same time, you'd have to wait 3 times as much to get a battery charged and start flying, because the current would split between them. However, this way you'll be able to wait for one to charge, use it and then get to the next and so on. The portability of this drone is quite amazing, easily fitting even in a standard pants pocket. This is important mainly if you're looking to travel with it. Carry it here and there without much hassle, but even more than that, it makes it much easier to just grab it and start flying. When deciding whether to grab the drone when I'm going outside, size and the hassle of carrying is a big factor. This means with the Mavic Mini, I started flying more often just because it's so much easier. The Mavic Mini from DJI has a battery life of 30 minutes in perfect wind conditions. But how much battery life does it have in normal conditions? It's tested to go about 27 minutes in real-life conditions with hovering. It actually lasts longer when flying at a constant speed. Even so, it's way more than other drones like DJI Spark and the Unique Breeze that are similarly priced can do. I'm talking 30 minutes versus 12 or 15 minutes. You can find the full spec comparisons between these drones on dronesgrid.com, and the article contains a full comparison table with the most important specs you should look for in a drone. Now, is the battery of the Mavic Mini a smart battery? Yes, the DJI Mavic Mini battery is actually intelligent, so it does discharge by itself up to a certain point, so it preserves more of the battery life. So this lasts much longer than normal batteries. Can you charge the DJI Mavic straight from wall plug? Yes, you can actually do that by putting a battery inside of it and plugging into the charger through the micro USB here. This battery feels like it has two of those 18650 batteries that you can find in electronic cigarettes or in Tesla cars. The range of the Mavic Mini in FCC mode is 4 kilometers, and that's what you get if you buy it from the United States, while in CE mode, if you buy it from Europe, it's only 2 kilometers. However, through the test I made, I discovered that it can go much more than that. Because I live in Romania, I do have the Europe version, so I expected it to go a bit over a kilometer or maybe reach 2. However, I managed to go to 2.8 kilometers away, almost 3 kilometers, which is the equivalent to the maximum range that the Spark can do in FCC mode. I'll do a full range comparison between all my DJI drones and the Xiaomi Fimi X8 really soon, so subscribe for that. And it's even more impressive since this doesn't use the OcuSync technology, but actual Wi-Fi instead. And the connection is really solid. And the DJI Spark in CE mode, if you buy it from Europe, can barely go 500 meters. And even if you go farther with the Spark, you'll probably not have enough battery to record something and come back. With the Mavic Mini, I was able to go to 2700 meters and record some stuff, stay there for a while, then come back and still had plenty battery. Which reminds me, does the Mavic Mini come back after losing signal? Yes, it does come back both if it loses signal and on low battery alert. I tested this today actually when I did the range test, and after I lost signal, the drone waits for about 11 seconds and returns by itself. But remember, it first goes to the return to home altitude that you set in your settings. I did have a small problem where the controller didn't manage to connect the drone when coming back, even when it got closer though, but I managed to make that work by simply restarting the transmitter. When it comes to the return to home precision, it oscillates between 1 and 2 meters from the point it was launched from, which is standard GPS accuracy. And let me remind you that this was a really windy day and it was freezing outside. The Mavic Mini can also fly indoors pretty stable, thanks to the optical flow sensors, but most importantly, it's a great indoor flyer since it comes with the 360 propeller protection that makes it no problem if it bumps around into walls. So what about the camera? The Mavic Mini specs a 12 megapixel 2.7K camera and it can shoot in 30 fps at 40 megabytes per second. I know, a lot of numbers, but they're good ones. The 2.7K video is quite perfect in between 1080p and 4K, so it's not that hard to edit, but it's also very detailed too. I actually preferred recording like this even with my Mavic 2 Pro. Are there any manual settings for professionals? The Mavic Mini is not really a camera drone for professionals, as it doesn't come with options to change things like ISO and shutter speed. You can change the exposure value though, but in situations like a sunset for example, the white balance will change by itself and the colors will slightly shift. However, you can actually adjust ISO and shutter speed in photo mode. Now let's start talking a bit about the design and unboxing, and then I'll show you some compared footage versus other drones. I'm not going over everything that's in the package. You can find every information in the article below for both the standard package and the Fly More combo. Such a great deal for $100 more. There is a link in the description so you can compare the prices currently. Also remember that because the Mavic doesn't come with internal memory, you'll be forced to buy a microSD card. The controller is quite similar to the other ones from DJI, but simpler this time without any pause buttons or customizable ones in the back. You have an auto return to home button, the on and off one, a scroll wheel for changing the camera angle, and the photo and video button. The sticks are also removable. Now, what flight modes does this drone have? The Mavic Mini, although beginner oriented, lacks quite a lot of the original flight modes, including Follow Me. It might be because it requires too much processing power or that they wanted to fly safer, since the Mavic doesn't come with obstacle avoidance. The main flight modes are Droney, rocket, circle and helix. Of course it has a sport mode, a P mode, that's standard positioning mode, and a cinematic mode, which is really useful to use as you can move the drone slower and more precise to get a cinematic effect on your footage. Now let's see some footage compared. I know you were waiting for this. The Mavic Mini versus the Xiaomi Fimi X8. I'll give my short opinion on each comparison and then let you decide for yourself. The Fimi X8 is a 4K drone, so that's how I shot the video, while the Mavic Mini is 2.7K, so I zoomed them in correspondingly, so none is at a disadvantage. I feel like the Mavic Mini is sharper than the Fimi X8, even though the resolution is bigger on the Fimi. When you zoom in, you can see that there's more detail surfacing in the Mavic Mini, especially in the areas in the background. But I'll let you decide for yourself. Mavic Mini versus Mavic 2 Pro. The Mavic 2 Pro is and will be my main high quality camera drone, and it's not even close to fair if we want to compare it with the Mavic Mini. As you can see in the footage, the Mavic 2 Pro does have the better colors and the smoother, more detailed look, as expected, but the Mavic Mini looks really sharp and good. If you like this sharpness, you can simulate it by increasing the sharpness in post-processing. It's surprising how much the Mavic Mini footage looks like the original Mavic Pro, which many people liked more than the new versions, thanks to its sharpness. In cinematography, excessive sharpness is to be avoided, as it can make the image less cinematic. But can you make the Mavic Mini actually less sharp from the settings inside the app? Unfortunately no, at least not now. It should be a simple to add app setting, however DJI probably doesn't want to add it. Mavic Mini versus Mavic Air. The Mavic Air is twice as expensive as the Mini, so take note of that before judging. The Mavic Air also has manual options for controlling the exposure, which is a big advantage. Just as the Mavic 2 Pro, the Air seems a little less sharp, but it's intentionally made so. Mavic Mini versus DJI Spark. There's really no competition here, as the Spark can only shoot in 1080p. And even when editing in 1080, if you have the 2.7K original footage, you'll still get a better image overall. Plus you can zoom in without losing quality. The 3-axis gimbal also makes for a better and smoother video, and the better battery life is very useful for measuring the shot better. Don't forget that you can check the description for my full comparison, where you can also find side-by-side images both zoomed in or not, and you can drag them left or right and see how the image changes between all these drones in real time. You can also click that to download the original footage and the photos if you want to compare them yourself. And if you like this video and want to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. Don't forget to check the next recommended video for you right here, check the drones for sale tool right here, or if you want, you can subscribe and hit the bell notification icon if you want to see more videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching and see you later, alligator!